When she's not wearing a bonnet or a corset, you'll find her on the red carpet. Keira Knightley's precocious career has seen her embody the literary heroines of Jane Austen, Ian McEwan and Leo Tolstoy, racking up 2 Academy Award nominations along the way. Her latest role is none other than literary trailblazer Colette, the French author who broke down barriers and raised eyebrows at the turn of the 20th century.
I have this remarkable idea.
You could write for me.
What?
Those stories you told me last year.
My school stories?
Yes, that could be my next novel.
It's rolling. Okay.
Keira Knightley, hello. Colette is a monument of French literature. What was the most important aspect of her personality that you wanted to highlight in this role?
I'm not sure that there was one aspect that I wanted to highlight. I think it was I didn't know anything about her early life. I didn't know anything about her first marriage. I think what I loved is that it was a story of a woman finding her identity, of finding herself, claiming her words, exploring her sexuality without shame. And I thought that it was incredibly inspiring. So I suppose, I was just exploring all of that, really.
He was after you.
Your jealousy is misplaced. That was the wife I found interesting. There.
We can't risk it.
Since when have you considered scandal to be a bad thing? You know the new Claudine. Why don't we publish it under both our names?
It's out of the question.
I need my name on the book.
No.
And Colette is a famous case of a man taking credit for a woman's work. How does that resonate for you working in your industry?
I think what I loved, again, about the script is that it felt utterly universal to the female experience, whether you work in the film industry or you work in the creative industries or you're simply just a woman being a woman. I think very often our voices aren't heard, our stories aren't told. And so there was something that I felt like anybody could kind of connect to within that story. Yes, it's happening in a much more extreme way to Colette. Her husband is literally taking credit for her work. But I think just that sense of your experience not being as valid as a man, I think is something that a lot of women can connect to. And I think that that's why it felt very important to kind of make this film, was because this is a woman who finds herself in that position and who fights against it and who claims her identity and who claims her voice and claims her stories and her history for herself. Very few women get to do that, and I found it incredibly inspiring to play somebody who did.
Sidonie Gabrielle Colette was just a teenager when she met Henri Gauthier-Villard. The older man who'd become her husband was also known by the pen name Willy, a larger-than-life character and a popular Parisian socialite.
An honour.
Pleasure to meet you.
Listen, Claudine at school is heading for her 3rd printing.
Excellent.
I believe Willie based Claudine in part on your school days.
Yes, I think I had a little something to contribute.
Well, I'm very glad your experiences have borne such wonderful fruit. Very nice to meet you, Madame.
Gare de Lyon, please.
Where are we going?
We'll find out.
In the marriage of Colette and Willie, we can really see a struggle, a battle of the sexes. That she has so much talent and so much life, and is really a brilliant artist and can write. And he is getting all the attention. He's the one who, is the public face, who claims credit for the work. So in this marriage, we see a woman whose voice is being suppressed, being kept down by a giant male ego. I don't think this applies to every marriage, but certainly around the turn of a century, this is a very relevant story because women were starting to speak up and demand greater access in culture and in all areas of life.
Finally, we have a success, and then you imply that I'm not the true author of it. People love to talk. I understand the mentality here. You don't.
I understand it well enough to write a book that's a toast of Paris.
You've done something important. All those young girls, we've given them a voice. You should own up to it.
And the character in the film, Missy, the Marquise de Belleboeuf, is someone we'd call today a transgender person. And it seems like Belle Époque Paris was a very liberal place when it came to sexuality. How far do you think we've come in terms of mentalities since then?
I mean, I think what I loved about the script was that it's very much discussing sexual politics and gender politics and feminism and everything that we're still discussing today. There's something that's a little bit sad that something that's set over 100 years ago can still feel so utterly current. And yet I think what we have to celebrate is the fact that we are discussing it and we are trying to push for change and we are trying to make a society that is fairer for everybody. I think that can only be a positive, but obviously change is very slow, as we can see.
In Colette's time, that she and Missy performed at the Moulin Rouge in The Dream of Egypt, and it caused a riot. Like, there was a visceral response against what they were doing. And after that, they had to be much more secretive about their relationship. I think, progress is something that is hard to achieve, and once you claim something, you have to fight to hold on to it, because there are always forces working against you to take those rights away.
What are your impressions after tonight?
My impressions? I'm disgusted. The people who threw things tonight are cowards, and the only reason I didn't get a footstool in the face is because I dodged it.
Let it go, Colette. There were some gentlemen who came for a fight. We must ignore them and go on.
So, you intend to continue?
Yes. No. Those people don't frighten me at all. Look, am I trembling? I will continue to pursue this because I want to. And if Paris won't have me, then so be it. I'll go elsewhere to make a living.
Throughout your career, you've been applauded for your performances in historical pieces, period dramas, but you don't do many contemporary films. What is it that's missing from the scripts that you're offered that are set in the present day?
Well, I've actually done roughly half contemporary films. It's true that they haven't done as well as, or some of them have. Love Actually has done very well, but like some of them haven't done as well as others. I think predominantly, and again, it's something to do with my face, I get cast in period films more than I get cast in the roles that I've been offered in period films, for me, have been more interesting. I don't know why that is. You'd have to ask a casting director or directors what it is about my face that they think suits a period film. I'm just very happy to play the kind of characters that I find inspiring, that I find interesting, that I find complex. That's what I'm always looking for. I think definitely I've always loved history. I've always been really interested by looking into different periods of time, so I think there's a natural kind of affinity to that. My imagination goes in that direction. I think some people look up to space and want to be with aliens, and I've always sort of looked at paintings and looked at history books and thought, wow, I wonder what that was like, so I think that there is that natural affinity.
Welcome to our world, the land of snowflakes, the land of flowers, and the land of sweets. But in the fourth realm, this is where our troubles began. Mother Ginger started this war. I hope you'll be the one to finish it.
When you mentioned in the press recently that you didn't allow your own daughter to watch certain Disney films, the ones with anti-feminist messages, you got a lot of flack, a lot of criticism. Where do you think all that anger came from?
Twitter. Hey, I don't think it would do if we all liked the same thing. That would be very dull, wouldn't it?
But the Disney film, The Nutcracker and the Four Realms, that makes the cut in your household?
It did make the cut because, she's a scientist, she's an inventor. Again, it doesn't actually make the cut because I think my 3-year-old would be too frightened by it. So it didn't make the cut for that reason. But, I liked it. Tangled, that's made the cut. Again, I've listed all of the ones that made the cut. We've gone over this. People feel very strongly about Cinderella. It's fair enough, they should watch it.
Well, I would guess that you're a bit of a francophile because you've done a couple of French plays, you've played Gabrielle Chanel, you work with Chanel as well. What is it about France that brings you back time and time again?
I think as far as the French plays, like all art, good art is universal. I think the thing about Colette's writing is that you can be English, you can read one of her amazing novels and love it. You don't kind of necessarily go, oh, that's very typically French. I played Therese Raquin. I certainly didn't think, wow, that's typically French. The Misanthrope, again, I think great pieces of art have to travel across borders. That's what they're meant to do. They show us all, I think, that there isn't that many differences between us, and I think that's what's so wonderful about art in general. I do love France. I love the food. I love the wine very much. I've been really lucky to work with Chanel for over 10 years, and I've loved that experience. And, I'm not somebody that ever wanted to be in the fashion industry, so I feel very privileged to be able to kind of peer around the corner, peer through the door of this amazing kind of historical house and learn something about an industry that I never thought I'd find myself in. So I've been incredibly lucky about that. I think France is great.
Keira Knightley, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Everything I thought and felt went into those books. They were me.
My name is Colette. And the hand that holds the pen writes history.